see that African booty scratcher come out of there.
Will you fight me?
Are you from Africa? I'm from Africa. You from Africa, you African booty scratcher.
So let's catch up really quick. My parents moved to America in the early 80s. I was born in Ohio, and immediately after I was born, my mother took me to Nigeria for a visit, but long story short, she couldn't come back, and I ended up staying in Nigeria until I was about 9-ish. So in the next scene, you're gonna see some very bad acting describing my experience when I first got here.
There. Now simmer down, children. Simmer down, simmer down. Hush your mouths. All right, I'd like to introduce you to your new classmate. Coming straight from Nigeria. Not on the boat. Just kidding. Her name is Enetimi Anatomy. Just give me a second, I got it.
Pardon? Come again.
Let's just have you introduce yourself, okay? Okay?
Good afternoon. My name is Timmy.
Oh my God, Timmy, that's the boy's name.
Oh, you want them Africans, huh? African. I just came from Nigeria. Yes. Whatever. Blackie, 2x4. You were African booty scratcher for sure. African booty scratcher, Blackie. Oh my God. African booty scratcher. African booty scratcher. I beg, whose buttocks am I scratching? Why are they saying this? Hey, do they think I'm a monkey? I will show them. Did you just insult me? Me. You pulveristic goat. Foolish idiot. I will break your head. Oh my God, oh wow, she's crazy, oh my God.
Simmer down. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question right now. What the hell is an African booty scratcher? Please, can somebody Google that right now? What's a booty scratcher? Why y'all call me that? Like we just stand around Africa and just scratch our eyes for no reason.
So, what is an African booty scratcher? Well, let's take a look. So, according to what I'm reading here, an African booty scratcher is a racist term used by American school-age children, which compares stereotypical primate behavior to people from the African continent. So, I agree with this definition, but I would also like to add what I believe, which is that those images on published media, those late night commercials, National Geographic, and all those things added to this term as well. I personally feel like this term perpetuates xenophobia and internalized racism. Now, nobody really uses this term anymore, at least I hope. And if they do, it doesn't really hold as much weight as it used to. However, us late 80s and 90s babies, second generation and first generation Africans will never forget what we had to endure during our school days because of this term.
Wait a whole minute. First generation Africans? I got called African booty scratcher too, and I'm African American.
That part. And I got called African booty scratcher too. And I'm second generation Haitian. So what are you talking about?
Okay.
At my big age, I understand that it was not just Africans that were being called this term. Anyone who was dark-skinned, had features or characteristics that put them in the proximity of being considered African also felt the sting of the term African booty scratcher.
And here we have it, an African in the wild scratching her booty.
It was 1998, and I was about 9 years old. It was like a couple of months before my birthday. So right before the school year started, because I'm an August baby and school always starts the second week of August in North Carolina, where I was at. So when I first got to the US, it was a big shock for me. I only grew up with my mother my whole life prior to that. I only knew of my father and my siblings through pictures that my mother had that he would send through the mail. And I never got to really talk to my siblings on the phone. I think I remember talking to my big sister Vivian once. So when I first got to the US, I had to go without my mother because my mother didn't have the proper paperwork to come back. So I pretty much, it was just a big shock for me. I was scared. I was like, where's my mom? But as soon as I got to the airport, by the way, my dad's friend is the one who brought me from the US. She was the one that helped with the transaction. Her and her husband were close friends with my dad, just to explain that. So anyways, get to the airport. My face is dry because they didn't give me no lotion on the plane. They gave you that hot towel, but no lotion, so I'm all ashy. But I met my siblings for the first time. So I met my dad, and I met my 3 sisters and 1 brother. And I knew all their names. I could point everybody out and say who's who. So, even though I knew all of them by name, that was still a huge shock for me. And this was just the beginning. So let's get into me going to school. So when I started interacting with other children, I had a very heavy Nigerian accent. So I'm dark skinned now. I've always been dark, but I was darker than this, okay? Because when you're playing outside in that tropical sun all the time, you're gonna be even darker. So I was very dark, heavy Nigerian accent, short hair. Like I had braids, but my sister ended up having to cut my hair because it was uneven. And so I was getting worn out by those kids. Every time the teacher, it's not like I was a shy kid when I came. So the teacher said, hey, who wants to answer this question? I'm raising my hand to answer. But every time I speak, it's hee, ha, giggle, giggle, laugh, laugh, comment here, comment there. So I was going off on people. My pidgin English was very sharp. I was cussing people out left and right in pidgin English. And, you just couldn't try me because when I was in Nigeria, nobody tried me like this, okay? Nobody talked to me like that. I was never insulted like this. The only person who ever said anything crazy to me was my mother. But that's because your parents are always gonna tell you about yourself every Nigerian knows this. So, besides my mother telling me about myself or, some adult telling me, putting me in my place, in school in Nigeria, nobody tried me like this. Nobody insulted me. Nobody called me ugly. Nobody said I was too dark. I never dealt with anything like that. So it was really a big shock when I got to the US that there was other black kids. I went to Hidden Valley Elementary School, black neighborhood, mostly black kids. And so I was kind of shocked. So I'm like, we look alike. Like we're the same skin color. So I didn't expect it to be like that. So these kids were wearing me out. They were telling me about myself all the time, making fun of my accent. And that African booty scratcher word kept coming up a lot. So I was getting in fights. I wasn't allowed to go to recess. I was cussing people out. I was slapping people, just all kinds of stuff. And the teacher basically tried to make it seem like I was the problem. They tried to put me in some special thing where I had to go talk to the counselor every day. But I'm just like, I don't know what else to do. So eventually my dad gave me that stern daddy talk, like, you better stop getting in trouble. Because my dad was always getting called to school every time I, had an incident where I retaliated because someone kept bullying me. So I became very quiet because I'm like, okay, I can't keep getting written up. I can't, keep getting in trouble. So 4th grade goes by, 5th grade goes by. All the same stuff keeps happening. So by the time I get to 6th grade, you know how middle school is. it's even much worse. So middle school, by the way, we're also like poor. Like my dad is working like multiple jobs as an immigrant, and there's 5 kids he has to take care of. So we didn't have a lot of money. So that didn't help either because I only had 2 outfits. But 6th grade comes around and the bullying doesn't stop. But at this point, my dad has like been like, hey, I better not catch you doing nothing, getting in trouble. So I'm just like, okay, I can't beat people up. I can't cuss people out. So the more quiet you are, the more people like to bully you. So I'm walking across the cafeteria. Kids are pointing at me, laughing. The only thing I could do was, I'll just give them the bombastic side eye whenever they started talking. And I'll just stare them down. I'll look them in their eyes and I'll just stare them down the whole time. Like, you better be glad that I can get in trouble for beating you, because if not, I'll beat the living brains out of you, So the only thing I could do was just give them an evil stare down. I couldn't do much else because if I got in trouble, I was going to hear it when I got home. And the one thing I was not was a disobedient child. Okay, I obeyed my parents. So they started saying I was doing witchcraft. Like, oh, she's doing African voodoo witchcraft. This is so funny to talk about now. But anyways, so the children just gave me a very hard time. And some of it could have been taken lighthearted if it didn't happen so much, but it was constant bullying, nonstop. Every single class I had. And it got to the point where people were doing just really evil things because I wasn't really fighting back. So people, like, for instance, I brought my baby picture. It was the only baby picture I had because when I left when I was an infant. Like, my mom took me when I was 3 months to Nigeria. So there's not a lot of baby pictures of me, just like 1 or 2. I think my mom has one of them. So the one that my dad had, I brought it to school because we had like a show and tell type of day. And the kids, they snatched the picture out of my hand and they ripped it in half. My only baby picture. I was a Harry Potter nerd. My sister, my big sister, she was the one who got me into reading. And if it wasn't because of her, my level of literacy wouldn't be what it became during my school years. But we had a thing where every summer when the new Harry Potter book came out, she always would buy the book and we would read the books together and race to see who could read it the fastest. She always won. It would take me like a day and a half. It would take her like 6-7 hours. But it was still fun, So my Goblet of Fire book, my hardback Harry Potter book, they stole my book, right? So these people were tearing my baby picture, stealing my book, pointing at me in the cafeteria, just all kinds of things, bothering me every single class that I had. And so I got fed up, right? I got fed up because there was not much I could do. Every time I had an outburst, like this one guy that used to bully me all the time, I had an outburst and I just screamed at him and I cussed him out. The teacher was right behind me when I happened to cuss him out, but the teacher didn't hear all the things that he would say. So then now I'm the bad guy. I'm the kid that's yelling and cussing him out. So then I get in trouble. Or another time, he just kept throwing my stuff on the ground, like knocking my things over. Like, I would put it on my desk, because at this point I'm quiet, because I keep getting in trouble. So I put my stuff back on my desk. This kid would come, knock it over, all scattered about on the ground. I put it back on my desk, knock it over again. So he does this like 5 different times. So then at this point, I'm like, this kid has one more time and I'm going to strangle him. So he did it one more time. I said, oh, okay. And I walked right up to him and I just took him and I was like, stop messing with me. I'm tired of you. Like, and then I stopped because I'm like, okay, I don't really want to injure this kid. I'm going to stop. So I go to the teacher and I'm like, hey, tell that boy to leave me alone, because I'm going to seriously injure him if he keeps bothering me. And of course, I get in trouble again. So it's like, I can't win. I'm always getting in trouble. So it just got to a point where I ended up getting in so much trouble every time I retaliated to the bullying that I ended up getting suspended from school. Mind you, prior to this, I tried to talk to the principal, everything. Nobody wanted to hear me out. But I ended up getting suspended from school, and I had to write a statement. I had to have a hearing. And they were going to send me to like this kiddie boot camp for like really bad teenagers and middle schoolers. So that's how bad it was. Luckily, though, I already took on my end of year exams and I passed them all with flying colors. But if not, I probably would have had to stay behind one grade. I ended up having to write a statement, and my statement was 4 pages long. And all I did was write down every single account of every time I was bullied from the beginning of the school year all the way till then. And then during my my hearing, it was like some kind of magistrate or somebody that came from the school board downtown, and they came down to my school to do the hearing. My whole family was there. And she read my statement, and then she asked me questions. And by the end of that, this lady was almost in tears from everything I told her. And so after that, like, she didn't even want to send me away. So instead, she just said, you know, they have to still do something as a punishment. So they sent me to some kind of alternative management school for the rest of the school year. But I didn't end up going to kiddie boot camp. But that's like a short gist of my African booty scratcher / bullying because I'm dark-skinned and African story.
Assimilation is a policy where individuals or groups adopt the customs, culture, and practices of the mainstream society. When practiced in a respectful and inclusive manner, it can have several benefits. It can promote social cohesion, understanding, and unity within a diverse society. By adopting common customs and practices, individuals from different backgrounds can find common ground and work together more effectively. Assimilation can also lead to better cultural exchange, fostering appreciation and respect for different traditions and beliefs. Moreover, embracing aspects of the mainstream culture can enhance opportunities for economic and social integration, enabling individuals to thrive and contribute positively to the broader community. In American history, however, assimilation had a negative impact on Native American and African American communities due to beliefs of inferiority, civilizing them, and dominant group interests. This policy was enforced through education, healthcare, and employment, causing devastating effects such as loss of cultural identity, poverty, and social isolation for Native Americans, and denial of voting rights, discrimination, and limited access to education and healthcare for African Americans. These negative effects persist to this day, highlighting the dangers of imposing one culture or group on another.
Okay, so that was cute and all, but like, what does that have to do with you?
Okay, Pierre Escargot. I'm getting to that part. Sheesh, why you gotta be so mean to me? Okay, so what does all of this have to do with assimilation and me losing my accent? So now that you guys understand the meaning of assimilation, and now that I've told you the backstory of me getting bullied and having to fight back and then getting in trouble and getting suspended. So in my household, getting in trouble in school, like doing anything except for coming back home with good grades and, you know, being part of like, you know, some kind of, you know, French club or Spanish club or multicultural club or track or football or something, you know, productive. Doing anything besides that and good grades in my household was like, are you mad? Are you crazy? So after, you know, getting suspended and getting sent to an alternative school for a long amount of time, after missing all that by the skin of my teeth, I was like, okay, I can't keep getting in fights. It's like, I can't keep dealing with the bullying, but I also can't keep like having to like fight people or defend myself or do things that end up putting me in trouble. So I was in a tough position because I was tired. I didn't know what else to do at this point, and no matter what I went through, nobody could really help me. So I said, screw it. I'm gonna have to, conform. I'm gonna have to try and fit in as much as I can. I couldn't do anything about my skin color. I'm the color that I am. But when I was in that school, that little management school, my sister went to college that year, and she used to do my hair. So after she left, my dad also stopped taking us to the hair salon that year as well. So I started learning how to do my own relaxers. I was like, you know what? We're poor. I don't have nice clothes. What can I do to take the heat off of myself? So I started learning how to do my hair. I learned how to do my own relaxers. I even learned how to trim my own ends. I started learning how to use the curling iron. I burnt my ears a few times, but I started figuring things out. So I even learned how to do, the wrap, the doobie wrap with the setting lotion. Like, I learned how to do all of that by myself. My oldest sister, she would use her money that she's earning while working small jobs in college, and she would get the East Bay magazine and tell me, send me the order number of, find some shoes that are on sale and send me the number for the shoe, and I'll buy it for you. So because of her, I was able to have shoes to wear. And so, I just was trying my best to fit in, not like, too crazy, but enough to where the heat was taken off of me. So worked on that appearance the best I could. Then what else stood out a lot about me? My accent. My accent was very, very heavy, okay? We had to read out loud in class. Now, mind you, I was reading books all the time because I had no life. My daddy didn't let me go outside. So it's not like I couldn't read or something. I was very good at reading. English class was always my favorite. I used to write poems a lot. That was my outlet of like letting out some of the anger and sadness that I felt. So I used to write poems all the time, but I didn't mind reading out loud in class. Just the problem was I had this accent, right? And every time I would read, immediately people are laughing at me, people are giggling. It just draws more attention to the fact that I'm different. And then more opportunities for people to make fun of and bully me. So I started working very hard on changing my accent around 7th grade year, because 6th grade was it was too much. So I worked very hard. I would pronounce my words differently. Like if I started reading out loud and I caught myself saying something in the Nigerian accent, I would immediately be like, change that. And so, my voice is so wobbly. It's probably because I need to eat. Anyways, I would just catch myself every time I pronounced something and it sounded too Nigerian. I would be like, okay, no. In my head, I would have this battle like, no. Repronounce the word and say it with a less Nigerian accent. I don't know if I could fully do like the American thing, but because I kept doing that over time, I completely lost my accent. I know that people can, if you live somewhere for a long time, I lived in the US for a long time. Eventually, you'll start sounding like those people. But I tried. It wasn't just like a gradual, after 10 years of living here, I started to get this accent. No. By the time I was in 8th grade, my accent was gone. Or it was subdued. It wasn't really around anymore because I worked very hard. It didn't take me years to get rid of it. I worked very hard because I was so tired of getting bullied, getting talked about, and I was tired of getting in trouble for defending myself. So, yeah, that's how I lost my accent. So that's my little version of assimilation. Do I regret it in my older age? Absolutely, yeah. I do regret trying so hard to lose my accent. I wish that, I don't necessarily blame my dad. He was an overworked single parent. He was doing what he could. He was always gone. I just wish there was somebody that could have said, hey, There's nothing wrong with your accent. It's okay. I wish there was someone who could have said that to me, because maybe I wouldn't have tried so hard to lose it. So now, in my older age, back to this whole African booty scratcher versus Akata thing, right? Because I see online when people talk about the whole African booty scratcher thing, and then I see a lot of Americans, you know, African Americans be like, oh my gosh, y'all still crying about that, da, 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 da. And then they'll be like, oh, well, Africans, they got a term for us too, or they say this about us, or they call us Akata, you know, whatever. Well, I am right in that sweet spot, okay? If I meet other people who are Nigerian, you know, in my age group, it's almost like, I don't know, like, and if you're in my similar predicament, comment below and let me know. But they'll kind of try this, like, how Nigerian are you pissing contest or something. And then they'll be like, oh, you haven't been back, or, you know, whatever. They'll be like, oh, you're not really Nigerian. You're not Nigerian anymore. And I'm like, nah, I don't really think you can take that away from me, man. Like, I spent a good 8.5, 9-ish years of my life there, and I went through some real, when I was living there, my life was not all like fine and dandy when I was there. I went through some stuff that will stay with me for the rest of my life. So when people try to invalidate and say, oh, you're not really Nigerian, I'm just like, get the fuck out of my face. Did you see all the fights I had to get in when I got here because I am Nigerian? Like, you're not going to tell me I'm not Nigerian. But at the same time, you know, it's like I'm in this gray zone. I just feel like I'm just a real African American. I've been through things on both ends. I feel like I'm just in a unique predicament, but I feel like there are also a lot of other people who are like me, who went through the same stuff. So what does African booty scratcher mean to me now? African booty scratcher is it's a funny term. I laugh at it now because I'm like, wow, people really used to call us that. Like, I really used to get fights about this. Like, I used to like want to fight people because of this. Like, that's so funny to me. Like, if someone called me an African booty scratcher now, I would probably scratch my booty on purpose and then laugh and walk away. Like, because it's just, it is what it is. So, yes, I'm a proud African booty scratcher.
Dang! She's still scratching her booty?
Ain't even trying to hide it no more.
What? It's a mosquito bite.
I guess, yeah. So I'm not with nobody, cause I don't wanna hurt nobody. Did it over text, didn't call me. Still got love for your mommy. I know you wanna be somebody, even if you gotta leave somebody.